So Marty Scurll shows up. We haven't seen an NWA programming in a little while. I mean, he showed up at End of the Fire. That's where he debuted in the NWA. He was in the NWA like a year ago, but I'm saying since the start of Powerrr a few months ago. He showed up at End of the Fire. He showed up on a few episodes after the pay-per-view for like an interview or two, and that was about it. I know Aldis ran into Ring of Honor. They had a few interactions there, but aside from that, we've not seen Scurll on Powerrr NWA-related programming since probably late last year. So he finally resurfaced here. He and Aldis went back and forth. It was clear Scurll was challenging Aldis for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. Aldis said, listen, I will gladly put my belt on the line against Flip Gordon here tonight. And Flip Gordon, obviously, is the buddy of Marty Scurll from Villain Enterprises and Ring of Honor. Because their match originally was not meant to be a championship match, and why would it be? Because Flip Gordon did nothing to earn that championship shot. So Aldis had said, listen, I'll make this match tonight a championship match, but if I do, and I retain my title, that means that when I win and I beat Flip Gordon here tonight, you want your shot at my championship, it's going to be on my terms. Not your terms, my terms. So Scurll agreed. They had the match later on. Aldis won. Very good match. And I'll get to the Aldis Scurll thing. Actually, I might as well just mention it now because I'm not sure where else I would mention it. So on Powerrr this week, at the end of the episode, and this week's episode I thought was great. I mean, the episodes are usually entertaining anyway, but I thought the closing segment specifically was one of the best they've ever done. So we see Scurll sitting down in the chair where they usually conduct the interviews, not in front of the audience. It was in front of an empty arena, like after the show or whatever. It was a private meeting place, we were told, even though it's like the same place they always record these interviews, like before or after the show is over. So all this eventually shows up, and they go back and forth. And Scurll talks a lot about how he feels like a failure, how people come up to him all the time saying that, hey, dude, you should have been world champion by now. You should have won the world championship at Madison Square Garden. You should have won the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship at the Crockett Cup. And all this couldn't help but bring up this big money deal that Marty Scurll's had right now in Ring of Honor, and how he didn't mention that he's the booker or anything, but he mentioned that, you know, he's the head honcho now in Ring of Honor. He's making a lot of money over there. He was always there for Scurll whenever he got hot. And now Scurll is looking for a fight with him, even though he already gave him a shot at his championship a year ago. Why are you coming into my company to steal my thunder? This is my prized possession. I care about nothing more in my life than this NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Why would you come onto my turf and challenge me for what is most important to me? What defines me as a professional wrestler? How dare you? And then he was saying like, oh, dude, like, listen, Marty, there's a lot of people that will be nice to you to your face and then just turn your back on you and talk shit about you behind your back and all this other stuff. And basically, he was describing himself because that's exactly what he did here. He was like, listen, Marty, I know you're not that guy. You're a nice guy. I've always been there for you. You've always been there for me. Why don't we settle this like men and just not have the match? And Scurll said, listen, I need another shot at that championship. I'm desperate. I need to prove I'm not a failure. And Scurll said, fine, or rather, Aldis said, fine, we will do the match on the 1-year anniversary, how fitting, of our last encounter at Crockett Cup 2019. We'll do it at the Crockett Cup 2020, probably in April, I think they had said. That's when their next pay-per-view is. No specific date, no venue specified yet. I think it's TBD, according to Aldis in this interview. And then he had said, listen, dude, I will only put my championship on the line against you again if there's something in it for me. Because why would I face you again for my championship when I know I can beat you and I've already beaten you before? So why even bother? So he said that if Scurll wants the match so bad, he will agree to the stipulation that if Scurll loses, he must refund every person's ticket in the arena that day for the Crockett Cup. That's a hell of a stipulation because you can't fake that. You can't say, oh, Scurll will give everyone their money back and then just say it. Like, everyone there will know, like, hey, we want our money back when he loses. I'm sure everyone in that arena is going to be rooting for Nick Aldis to retain the title just so they can get their money back, even though Aldis is clearly the heel. I just thought of that right now. Like, that won't make much sense. Usually it should be the heel. I mean, I guess Marty's an outsider, but people love Marty, so the whole dynamic is weird now that I think about it. The bottom line is this. This exchange right here at the end of Powerrr on Tuesday night was so fucking great. They need to do more of this type of stuff, not just in NWA, but like in every other promotion. This was maybe around 15 minutes or so, but you would never know it. I was hooked the entire time. Every word that came out of their mouth was compelling and hooked me. So absolutely check it out. I was already excited for the match to begin with when it was teased a month ago, but I find myself just waiting on the edge of my seat for Aldis versus Scurll 2 for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. This was, to say it was effective in getting me hyped for the match would be an understatement. Absolutely check this out, and I do not see enough people talking about it for how good this was.